got Karl Dakin back on his every other Wednesday rotation and really focused on successful funding. And that's what Karl is most focused with, and trying to align everything with everything, right? So if it's going to be capital, let's let everybody know it's capital. If it's live streaming, let's be focused on that, and we'll have more relevant interactive, spontaneous conversations because nothing's scripted here. Chat's wide open. If you don't know Russ has been a guest here in the past. I've been a guest on Russ's show because Russ is the newbie for the day. I'll have Russ kind of share a little bit about himself, what he really has been able to identify as live streamings, some of their best attributes and benefits, and go from there. Russ.
All right. Well, hey, listen, Don, thanks so much. You're doing amazing work. I'm honored to be here. And Karl, it is so amazing to meet you too. And I'm excited. As you can tell, I'm a very passionate individual and love to help people learn to build a foundation for their business. And I really feel as a marketing coach that the foundation, a great foundation for any business or any good marketing plan for sure, is connection and community building, because without people, you have no business. It doesn't matter what you're in, whether you're in funding or whether you're in real estate or whether you're in marketing, you need people for whatever you're doing. And so I'm all about that, helping people learn to really be able to do that. I think a lot of times people think they've got it figured out, but really they're not really doing it. So I'm all about connection and community building. And I love to help people raise visibility. And that's a great way to do it, is reaching out to people. And you can do it through live streaming. We started doing live streaming now probably 3 or 4 years ago. Started with podcasting and then video podcasting and then on to live streaming. And so many great things have come out of that. First of all, meeting amazing people like Karl this morning, being able to meet new friends. But second of all, being able to get the real you out there, because you know what? Everybody watching, you are the difference maker. You're what makes you unique. What sets you apart from everybody else in your field is you. And when people can see you, that makes such a big difference. And that's what I love about video and live streaming. And that is why I'm here.
Well, that's why we have you here, Russ, because you hit it right on the nose. And it's just about doing better with less time, less effort, less thought, getting better results. I mean, it's such an easy marketing opportunity to say you're driving a scooter, you could be in a Bentley right now for
Exactly.
less work or the same amount of work. And I think not only do people want to be seen, they want to be felt. And when you're in front of people and you're having conversations over time, there's no having a second persona. People see you for who you are, what you are, why you are, and they have a better opportunity to connect with you after they've already gotten to trust, know, and like you. Where typically it's the other way, right? Connect, have a call. Oh, sounds good. You look like a decent person. Let's do it. And then everything either continues to support that or wow. And I'm already this far into it and blah, blah, blah. Before we go too far, I want to recognize Kelly. Kelly is been on 100 shows, we figured, in the last year. Kelly has her show, The Awesome Journey, with Christy Howard. And it's an amazing show. It really supports veterans and first responders, has some amazing stories. Yesterday was all about gun running and somebody who was really up there in that area. And, all these shows that I do, Russ does, Karl does, they're at everybody's profile, right? So if you want to see a show, you want to see someone, anyone, it's all there, right? So I think that's valuable, and really supporting each other, because what's the point of having a community if you don't engage with it and you don't become proactive with it? Too many people are waiting to give. You got to give just to keep giving. And if you get something, and you will, but it'll come in a natural, more organic fashion. That's something that's easy to appreciate. So anyways, Kelly, can't say enough about you. Carrie's here. Carrie's our jokester. Great to see you, Carrie. Carrie's out supporting so many shows. Dennis is our HVAC guy in Colorado. Happy to peep in and learn about great people, and we here to hear you three. Thank you. Russ is here, saying hello to Kelly. Kelly comes back with, good to see you, Russ. Thank you for the shout out. Oh, absolutely. And, that's part of promoting people is you're promoting yourself if who you promote brings value to everybody, right? You want to introduce the best you know and the best you work with. So that creates opportunities for many more people. And, people out of guilt or obligation will eventually do something to keep it going. So, Karl, your turn.
Good morning. We're almost 10 minutes into the show before I have to talk. This is great. So I'm just cruising along here a bit. My role in life is to help raise capital and working with people. And it fits into the show themes today because we're talking about people. And it seems maybe this is going to become a cliche of fundraising, but you don't raise money from yourself, you raise money from other people. That's where the phrase other people's money came into existence. And the three keys that I use in helping my clients find funding or for my own projects is first, you have to know a person. Second is they have to have the resource you're looking for. And the third, they have to be motivated. And where most small businesses are failing the first objective is they don't know enough people. They're essentially invisible to most of the 8 billion people on the planet. And so they need to be out thinking of other people as potential assets, potential investors. They're technically anyone in the world can be an investor candidate for your business, but it doesn't make a difference if they don't know you exist. So LinkedIn Live programs like this serve as one tool in the toolbox for a small business to make themselves visible, to make themselves stand out from their competition and build that relationship that may not be built in any other manner. So it's a critical tool, I think, and that's part of the reason I've added it to my own toolbox, is that I want to meet more people. I want more people to see me. And when they know me, we get into a lot of definitions. I'm looking forward to Russ's input on this, and I'm particularly hoping I suck up half of the energy that Russ is bringing to this program. I don't run at this speed normally, so I feel like I need to go get on my sprinting shoes. But knowing a person involves a certain degree of trust or expectation that comes from the relationship. And this is very hard to establish, particularly when you reach out for the first time to someone you don't know and say, hey, look at me. I want to form a relationship. And they go, why? What's the point? What's the purpose? Where are we going to go with this? And if you go, well, I want something from you, that's pretty much the easiest and quickest way to shut the door, turn off the key, and have the person go away. So I talk about my first statement in a pitch is, I think I know a way to help you. And then we have a conversation after that because it becomes about them and not about me. And if I can help them, then they have every reason to form a relationship with me. So what I do in my LinkedIn Live successful funding shows is I'm basically saying, I'm here to try to help you understand funding. I think I can help you. It's not necessarily, all the time, everywhere, solution, but by giving, paying it forward or giving something first, I'm hoping that I can introduce myself to a large enough group of people that we can all work collectively together to help small businesses. And that's essentially my goal. So knowing the person, having trust, having that belief that we're both here for some common purpose gives us the basic foundation to start talking about funding.
Well, that's so fascinating. And, I'll turn it over to Russ because he's the marketing expert, especially as it relates to live streaming. I guess having a longer term vision, Russ, is where people really have to go with live streaming. What's your thoughts?
Well, I think that it's good to know short term and long term. And we all need funding and monetary support with our business, especially small businesses. And I love that, Carl, what you're all about there, because so many people struggle with that. Because without that, the wheels don't keep moving. But you've got to remember that's not why you're here or what you're all about. If you're here for just money and moving forward, you're going to have struggles all along. And you're also going to be very frustrated and depressed a lot of times because it doesn't always go good. But even if it is going good, that is not a good focus for your life. And so I'm all about what is your real purpose about, right? What are you really trying to get? Because then you get to the people that help you with those other things, and the money and the resources start coming in because you're collaborating and working with great people. And I think that, Karl, you alluded to just community and working with people, right? The businesses don't have enough people. And I love what Zig Ziglar said: you build the people and then the people build your business. And that's what we're all in. We're all in the people business. We are all out there to really get people to, and I love this phrase more than know, like, and trust, to know, love, and trust us, to really be their top of mind all the time. Like when somebody really needs a great marketing coach, I want to be the number one person they think of, not because I'm so great, but because I've spent the time and I've cared about them and I've engaged them and I've built relationship with them. Right. And I think that's a lot of it too, is really caring for other people and engaging with other people, showing other people they have value, because that again, in turn, builds community and trust between people. And I love the phrase, another great quote by John Maxwell, that says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Karl and I and Don, we can all sit here and spout all we know all day long, and we can impress you with our credentials and how great we are. But if you don't think we really care about you and what you're all about, you're going to be like, okay, yada, 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 yada. Great for you. I'm out of here. So really, I want everybody to know about me. I love people. That's why I'm so passionate. And that's why I talk so much. And I love to connect with people. And I put it in the chat. I mean, it all starts with a conversation. Go to my connection link, russhedge.com/contact. Let's have a chat. I've been able to chat with Don a couple times. Karl, I'm looking forward to you and I being able to chat and just really get to know people, because that is true connection. That's what builds community. That's what builds relationship. And that's what builds business.
Well, you hit on so many essences. And one of them is that people, because they don't know you, come for what you promote, but they stay
Right.
for you or they leave for you. And it's also not what you do or have done. It's what can you help them do that they haven't been able to do. All you need to do is play a piece, a role, and fill a weakness, make an introduction. I think that's the key. When people want to be all things to all people and Superman or Superwoman, it can be done. But look at how many people get it done, right? And even at that point, it's not a complete picture. It's more of an illusion or an image. I think people,
that's right.
Right. And I think most people, they have to check their appetite. Right.
Yeah. I think it is an illusion. And Karl, I'm going to throw this to you, even though I'm not the host of the show, but I just came off 2 live streams that I hosted. I think that it is an illusion. We are better together. We need each other. We can't do it all ourselves, and we are not all things to all people. Not It hurts my ego and my feelings to think about the fact that not everybody likes me, and I'm not for everybody. It's kind of rough on me because I'm the kind of person that wants everybody to love me and be friends with me, but it's just not reality. And even if they do like me, I'm not the one that can really help some people. Some people, it's Karl that can really help them. So I think we need each other, right, Karl?
Oh, I agree. I think that I often joke about entrepreneurs have a genetic defect where they think they can do everything themselves. And we on the media and everybody else likes to promote the concept of the lone wolf, the single solo entrepreneur who conquered everything and all that. And when you read those stories or see those stories, I just start shaking my head because I'm going, it could have been done easier. they could have built a team, they could have worked with other people, they could have brought in expertise to wrap around them to move this all forward. And at the same time, we see this a lot, and Donna and I talked about this on other episodes, but a lot of times people say, well, I'm going to create my product, I'm going to create my business first, and then I'm going to go out and recruit my customers. I'm going to go out and build my crowd and my community. And there's this long time to develop these crowds, these communities, these relationships. People don't understand that that's an investment of time. And the first time you show up, they're not automatically going to trust you, just because you introduced yourself. And so I think the old joke is, when's the right time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. It's the right time to start building your crowd and your community 20 years ago. And if you're going into business, you need to look at all the different options you have on how to share who you are, what you're doing. And that's part of the reason why I like LinkedIn Live, is because I could go out and have breakfast with someone this morning, spend 2 or 3 hours with them. I spent time with one person, one relationship. And by the end, they may go, yeah, Karl's a good person. I think he can do what I need him to do. But I could also be on this show with you, Russ, and you, Don. And Don, of course, has millions of people who watch him every day. So it's easy for me to share who I am with a larger group of people. And that's more efficiency, because I don't have all the time in the world. We talk about time is the only asset that's finite, that we cannot expand it no matter how hard we try. So getting out there, building your crowd, your relationships is critical to the success of any small business, and particularly in funding, because that person has to hold you to a higher set of standards, a higher level of trust, if they're going to put their money with you and hope that you're going to give it back sometime in the future.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that's what they really want. Don, can I say one thing on that?
Sure.
And that is, I just wanted to say, Karl, that, one thing that you talked about too, and what you love LinkedIn Live, but we got to remember one thing that I always look at. So not everybody likes LinkedIn. This is just an example of different things for different people. Some people like to come in on YouTube, or they like to come in on Facebook, or they like a different thing. And that is just a really kind of a microcosm of life, because people do things differently. And that doesn't mean it's right or wrong. Everybody's different, just like everybody needs different people for a coach, for a mentor, whatever. We are different. And it also depends what we're really specializing in as well. I mean, obviously, I can already tell you by your big smile and by all you're about, I'm already sending people to you, Karl, because you can tell when people really care and about what's going on. And I think when we work together, this comes back to the collaboration of working together. We are always better together, and we always can help each other. And just like you said, not only can we live stream to the millions of people on Don's show, and then restream this to our own StreamYard or our own accounts, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, with our 5 additional people, but we can also encourage other people to help each other, right?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm going to let Don talk since it's his show.
okay.
So.
Well, I just want to talk to be able to reinforce what you gentlemen have been saying, and shouldn't go. One thing about these, if you don't catch it when it is, you got to catch it somewhere else with something else. Is coming from a perspective and a feeling and attitude of abundance makes all the difference in the world. If you compare it to another professional organization like a law firm and accounting firm, they're going to have their managing partners and general partners and limited partners and all these partners, right? But they show you everybody in the organization on their website with a little bit of a bio. Their hope is you see somebody you can relate to and choose that person. It doesn't go top, fill it up, it drops to the next person, because, to me, if Beverly is the person or Harvey's the person, they should be the person, because there's so many other persons. But here's how it works. You give, it gets received, it gets appreciated, and now top of mind is, I got to take care of Russ somewhere. somehow, right? Could be 6 months, but when the opportunity, I'm on the lookout, just like if you're looking to buy a present for somebody that's hard to buy for, you just know that, hey, if this happens, I'll make it happen. The other thing is how many times does someone have to see you? How many impressions do you have to leave to really get your full story out? And, if someone came to you and says, I want to sell these dishwashers, right? You'd come up with a 12-week or 16-week marketing program, and you'd include email and broadcast and live streaming. But at least it'd be, let's do the 16 weeks and do it. Too many people come in with needs that have nothing to do with what the opportunity is here. I always found you don't get what you want or need, you get usually what you deserve. And if you're not getting it, you're not strong enough. You're not where you need to be at. And the best way to get there is with people already there. And I think that's where collaboration comes in, community comes in, and then community turns into family, right? And then by what we did with our collaboration group, we meet every other Thursday. Karl's in it, Beverly's in it, Kelly's in it, Harvey's in it, Con's in it, Dave's in it, and we're all live streaming. So if every 2 weeks you come back and say, here's what I just found, everybody goes into the same gold mine with different tunnels, but comes out and meets together and says, here's a tip, here's this and that. And then you can draft off of people, and that gives you hope, because although you're a little piece of something big, all you need is little pieces to make you big enough. And it's an easier share. So let me just reach out and make sure all these people are recognized. Beverly's here. Beverly does every Tuesday. I was fortunate to do one just alone with Beverly. We can cover so much more ground, but it is always better to have that third person because it gives more eyeballs, more to look at, different perspectives, different personalities. Beverly does women's empowerment over 50. That's the show. So we're really tailoring this directly to what someone actually does after leaving the show. We've got Harvey, who has the franchise show, which is #1 on the charts. And he's been doing it for just a few months, and he's killing it. He's found a whole way of promoting what he's doing. He just picked up a couple sponsors. I know Russ is really strong on sponsorship. And actually, as an aside, want to mention Scott, who does the show with Russ. Scott's been here, I'd say, at least 2 or 3 times. Just a great gentleman. So, Russ, since people are just getting to know you a little bit better, what have you found about doing shows with Scott over time and how it's developed and how you've gotten support for your show?
Yeah, it is, and this kind of comes into the monetary side, which Karl specializes in. I'm just me. So what you see, everybody, is what you get. I'm a hoodie guy, by the way. That's why I just hang out with my hoodies. And I love people. And so I get to know them, and building connection and community comes back to benefit you in so many ways, including monetization. This whole journey of my own business started with my friend D. Scott Smith. He is here in the local Oregon area with me. We were having a coffee back in 2019. And he says, hey, you know what? I got to encourage you. You need to do like a side hustle. You got to do some marketing coaching, some speaking, maybe some live or podcasting. And then he said, have you thought about writing a book? And I'm like, okay, you're overwhelming me. Hang on, Scott. I'm working 12 hours a day for a corporation, and I don't have hardly any time. I like the idea, but I start the groundwork for that. And then about January of 2020, he tells me, hey, I've got this group called the Global Tea Break. And by the way, if you guys haven't checked that out, globalteabreak.com, you're all invited. It's a worldwide networking group. You got to come in. We're on this thing called Zoom. Have you ever heard of that? And I'm like, I have no idea what Zoom is. I mean, what is this? So he teaches me, I go into this event, and then what happens a couple months later? The world shuts down and we go into this COVID, and I have started the groundwork for my business, really feeling like God is moving me that way anyway to do my own thing. And also I'm teaching people how to get on Zoom and network groups that I'm involved with, because we're all locked up in our houses and I need people, as you can tell. So, so Scott was such an encouragement. And then just short time after that, he and I started doing some podcasting and then live streaming together. I had done my own thing. And so between the two of us, we have several, but the Experience Live with Russ and Scott every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, shameless commercial. We are always here. Before this show, I just came off that show. And Scott and I also do one called The Experience Backstage, which is 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Instagram only. It's kind of a pre-show with our friend Shree out of Houston. She gives video tips and we just have fun and we lead into the experience. And so those are two things we do together. And you know what we're doing, Don? And then I'll talk a little bit about the monetization. We are expanding that to a show called The Experience Live with Russ and Scott Local. So it'll be The Experience Local. And it is all about believers in business, people interacting with their faith and their business and their family in the local Mid-Valley, Oregon, Southwest Washington area. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to encourage people, no matter where you are in the world, on our live stream, to think about local people. And I have a friend that said, think locally, act globally. I love that. And so we're going to be doing that. And that includes sponsors. And I'm telling you, we've got a waiting list. People are lining up to sponsor this show, because not only do they get all the live stream benefits, but it's broadcasting on live radio locally. So they also get the radio advertising and the radio exposure. So we're bringing in local guests. We got like 3 months booked up. We are bringing in local sponsors, and it's just really a lot of fun. The way that I have really, really done that, and this goes well beyond what I have time to explain, it takes a little effort. But when you do connection and community building and you build people that know, love, and trust you, the number one thing that people said when I started my business is, how can I help you? What can I do for you? Because you've supported me. You've done all this. You've been a blessing. I didn't even have to ask people to sponsor. It just started right off because I had connected and built community. And Don, and Karl, I think you're both all about that. That is where it all starts. It really starts with people. And so that's where, and I have a lot more information on that, but that's where I start.
Well, that's great. I'm so glad we're able to have this knowledge share, because everybody's at the front end of what they're doing, especially with live streaming. And, you know, the more, okay, you got your coffee cups, pretty soon you got your merchandise being sold. You know, I'm going to have to go out and get a cup right now. You know, and that's the great thing too, is people motivate you by their success. And
Right.
It's a natural tendency to say, if Russ could do it, I could do it. If Karl could do it, I can do it. But here's the other thing people forget. What gets them to the top of the mountain will get other people to the top of the mountain. And that's why I put live streaming front and center, because the closer you can align with where someone already is versus taking them from where you established a relationship to starting a brand new one. And you know what I found about everything, the closer you can get from manufacturer to user, the better off you are. So by having a direct channel of communication to the relevant people, it's not the quantity. It's the people who you can possibly work with, you can possibly help, you identify them, and then it's what's your value. And then here's the other thing. If you're relationship oriented, your value has to be continuous. You can't just keep coming up with the same everything every week, or people get tired and bored and don't learn. And you've got to be able to pivot, switch gears, identify things somebody isn't seeing, isn't doing. And I think that's the value of it. And then success will continue to support more success. And if you think you're grateful and happy with the support you're getting when you're not making any money, just think of how grateful and appreciate when the money starts coming in. And I think what it has to do is staging, has to do with prioritizing. You know, it's so easy to get caught in this buffet of live streaming to forget that if you're successful, you're going to have to dedicate a whole lot of time to what you just acquired, right? If you got 100% of your time towards marketing and live streaming, That's going to get cut by 50% if you get your goal. And how do you maintain? And I think it's really keeping your eye on the ball, staying tight with everybody else who's playing, because just like Russ's sponsorship situation, well, if everybody can get a sponsor so much faster, so much better because of their approach to it, and I just finished a book that was called What's in It for Them. And that was the whole idea, is when you put yourself behind the value and the service you bring others, you let that go to work for you versus just a simple tit for tat, because that's too superficial and challenging. But I don't know how you do 40 comments while you're talking, Russ, but I'm going to have to learn that skill set too. Beverly says, love that. Karl, genetic defect. Lone Wolf, here's a new name, and glad to have you. Hi, Russ and friends. Michael Holt. I believe maybe Russ might know you. And that's
Yep.
the other thing is people get to know people by the association with the other people. Right? You got 3 different crowds coming together for their own local or long-term friend. But what I found about connections, no matter how aligned you are, only about 20% are the same as the next person. So me and Russ could be doing exactly the same thing. We could have 30,000 connections, but only 7,000 or less know each other. And now 27,000 got put into the pool. And I think that's where you get the growth. Harvey says, Russ Hedge, I was just listening attentively to sponsor. Very interesting. So what is a typical sponsor commit to, and what do they get on your show, just to keep people from a mystery?
Well, it's amazing what they get. Not because I'm amazing, but because we put together an amazing package. But you know what the number one thing is, when you're working with people for sponsorships for your show, you need to do what my friend D. Scott Smith says, and that is lean into your network. Meaning that you have all these people that really know, love, and trust you and care about you. And this is the time to let them know what the opportunities are and what you're doing, because then they can choose if they want to help or not. And a lot of people do it just because they want to help and support you, number one, right? But the second thing is we put together a very defined, clear package of what they get, so they know what they're getting. So an average sponsorship is getting 5 times the advertising that they're paying for. They're paying a very small no-brainer, what I call a no-brainer amount, something that small businesses and people at lower levels in corporations have the ability to say yes to, so you can get sponsors quick. We built the program by having more sponsors, not charging more per sponsor. So instead of charging more, we just got 2 sponsors and doubled it. And instead of charging more, we got 3 sponsors and tripled it. Instead of charging more, our latest show has 4 sponsors and we quadrupled it. And you know what? They all still get the value. They also get the great things. And the package includes very quickly, not only do they get the live streaming that we're doing, but let's back up. They get a whole week's worth of advertising. This is what they're really paying for, what their value is. An entire week of ads going out for the show with their logo all over it, with links to them and their business, with shout outs saying how awesome they are. New sponsors get their own special ad out on all social medias, all major social medias. Then on the live stream, they get a shout out commercial, which also is video and audio. So that transfers over to, it's then turned into an audio podcast. They can listen on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, whatever their favorite podcast platform is. And they also get a shout out on that. And then we do a follow-up ad, just giving everybody a big shout out and thanks for their support as well. So they get all of that, which is a huge value. And our latest show, on top of all that, they get the radio advertised, and the radio station is promoting that as well on more than one station. So it is like a barn burner of support. And I love to talk to people about this. If you guys want to reach out, I do an entire workshop on how to monetize your live stream, but I'm just willing to have a chat with you too.
Well, that's great, Russ. That's so generous. And that's what people will remember, is the outreach. And now the responsibility and accountability is on them to follow their, let's say, plan or ability to succeed at their goal by learning. And, that's why my ticker, host, build, or sponsor a live stream. So you can come in at any level. But what I see with what Russ just mentioned, which gives me more confirmation, is I've just jumped to get your own show.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's as simple as it is.
And keep it simple, Don. You and I have talked about this. People get really complicated on all this, and Karl, you can speak to this. When you're trying to go out and you're trying to get funding and build support, if you're super complicated and you're making it tough for people to support you or buy, they're not going to do it. And my favorite quote that's daily, you guys will find this funny because you can tell I'm a talker. My favorite quote that I put every day on my calendar to remember to listen is, don't pass up a good opportunity to shut up. I love that. And so what does that mean? You give people a simple offer and you shut up and let them answer.
Well, and that's so true. And you allow people to move at their own pace, at their own comfort level. And that's why, hey, just come on, be a guest, right? That's easy. You're already in the audience. You've already been watching and supporting. If you like the guest, right? Start building your own show by being a host, right? So it starts with audience, guest, host, show. And now we're working on the live streaming collaboration level, right? Everybody who's a part of a racing team has to have a racing car. But it's really nice to come into the garage and share each other's tips and new innovations. Well, switch it. Oh, here's Leslie Flowers. We got the whole fan dambly. Leslie's here. I got to mention, she does Think and Grow Rich on Fridays. She also does an audio event on Mondays, Mind Over Matter. I was fortunate enough to sit in on that one. And, these are people who are not just audience people, they're influencers. They got their own shows. They've got their own fans. They've got their own networks that you can leverage with them, because everybody here is selfishly unselfish. It's in everybody's benefit to work together, to learn together, and be a good citizen together. And because everybody's so tightly knit, it doesn't take long for everybody to know something that really good just happened, or something that you got to be a little thoughtful of. And the other thing I've learned in a year and a half, I've done 650 shows in like 660 days. And each show had a person or two. That's 1,000 different interactions almost every day. Is people come in at a certain level for a certain reason, and they leave for a certain reason to either stay at that level or to move to a different level. So you have to be really good at understanding that whatever you have, whoever you have, try to get the most with them, not out of them. And try to, if you looked at my sponsors, every show I mentioned Beverly, every show I mentioned Karl and their show, right? And I think that's a good practice, because if you're willing to collaborate together, you should be willing to promote together, and the more successful someone is, the more they're going to invest more into whatever they're doing. And over time, it's actually a redirection, not either and, but more like either and better. So Karl, you've been waiting there, and you're a good talker too. So we don't have a fear of gift to gab. What's your thoughts on all this?
Well, first, I'd like to do a shout out to Leslie. She puts out a list every week of all the LinkedIn Live shows that she is supporting, acknowledging, and she's been putting my LinkedIn Live show on her list. And so thank you, Leslie, for that. But to Don's point, because Leslie is putting me on the list, she's promoting me to her crowd. And as we talk about sponsorship, which coincidentally was the topic of my instant funding newsletter yesterday morning, I was explaining to small businesses that sponsorship is a form of funding, but it is dependent upon wanting to associate with somebody else's brand. So by my being on the show here with the two of you this morning, I'm getting Don's millions of viewers, and Russ, I don't know how big your crowd is. I don't know if it's bigger than Don's or not, but we'll assume it is for the moment. That means millions of people now are getting to see me who wouldn't see me otherwise. And that's part of what sponsorship's about. Is somebody wants to want to be your brands to intertwine, to be viewed as similar and having common elements. So you're going, yeah, I'd love to have a celebrity with their arm around my shoulder, telling the world that I'm a great person. And so I'm doing that by being on this program with you two celebrities. But at the same time, you have your own crowds. So you are introducing me. It's not just me, with a photo on the wall in my office going, hey, look, I've got a picture with Don. Don's put me on his live stream show. So now he's introducing me to his crowd, his people. And this is the benefit of LinkedIn Live and the benefit I'm getting from being a guest on his program. And the point is if you set up your own program, if you do your own thing, every guest you bring on is wanting to associate with you, but you're commingling their crowd with your crowd. And as you build your community, as Don has been building, with Harvey and Kelly and Leslie and Beverly, all these different people, the crowd just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's where you get this almost impossible to measure value from being on the program.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, can I add one thing to that? And that
Sure,
is,
please.
so I completely agree with that because you're bringing people together. And just like today, I'm on the show and getting to connect with new people that I'm not connected with. And, so I have several different live streams. Marketing with Russ is every Monday and Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And that is me as the host and one guest. And then I have the Experience Live with Russ and Scott and all the things that spawn off that with Scott and I, and 2 guests on Wednesdays. The new show will just have 1 guest, but Scott and I. But then I have a show called Russ Reels Live every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is a topic-driven, panel-driven show. And this speaks really to what you were just talking about, Karl. And that is, I might bring 5 to 10 people together that all have communities already, bringing all these people together, talking about great topics and really getting people energized. And the comments and the show just blows up because there's so many people that are coming in from different communities, right? And it's such an amazing way to bring people together. I love doing it, especially when people don't know each other. I love bringing them in. Like today, I just met Karl on the show. I love coming in and bringing people and connecting them. Suddenly they're on this live stream together and they're meeting each other and they're talking live, and then they can continue that after. And I think that's where collaboration and coming together in that kind of a way is really kind of amazing. Technology has given us this amazing ability to do that. So I love that point, Karl.
Well, to add to that, and mainly what we've just talked about, in some ways I look at what we do here as a dynamic ensemble, right? If you take Saturday Night Live, every 2-3 years it was a whole switch over, right? And those people went on, a lot of them, to even greater careers and success, but they cut their teeth on the show as young comics or people who just got discovered. The other element that I see that's so valuable is the master connecting you can have between people, when you can pair up 2 people who will be good together, who are in complementary fields, who can support each other. And, it's like sprinkling angel dust around, and actually what you made me think of, Russ, which is so important here, if it was just the 3 of us brainstorming, it would be worth the hour, to be doing that. When you add an audience, an interested audience, an active working audience, not a one day I'll do it and I'm not motivated yet audience, that changes everything. So what I thought of is we do our every other Thursday collaboration group, right? 7 of us. And why not make that a live stream? And most people might think, well, we're going to be sharing stuff. Well, we're sharing stuff every day. And if it's good stuff, what people don't understand, and that's where people have to switch their mindset. It's not what you're giving, it's what you're also receiving. If 7 people can get together in a serious conversation that has value, and you allow those 7 to invite their network to it, now what you're giving everybody is more exposure. Right. And I think that's important. You should always be able to broadcast something that had really good value to you. And by not doing that, you're restricting, because in the physical world, people are trying to control, they're trying to hold on, whatever it is. In this world, the more you can push out, the more it will come back to you. Because if someone learned how to do it with you, they're going to have to want to learn how to do it better with you. And the last thing you want to do is finally get a great situation, be part of an ensemble, and then become an ego-driven person or a vanity-driven person. And nobody lets anybody go hungry for too long if they had something to do with making the meal, right? And I think that's only fair. And I think that's where my first qualification is: you got to be a good person, right? You got to start with that. You got to be fair. You got to be generous. You got to be thoughtful. You got to be patient. You have to have some persistence. And, you know, what I love about so many people, especially like Karl, he just was ready to roll. You know, I mean, he started a newsletter. He's had it every day and he's worked it up. You know, he's gotten on the show and now he's got his own show. And he still stays here because if you got the benefit of 7 times the influence, you want to get 14 times the influence, right? You want to hold on to your slice of the pie knowing it's going to get so much bigger. And so many people in NASCAR won because of drafting and waiting for that right moment to take the lead. So, Karl.
So, I've been working with Don now for a few months, and I'm part of this first cohort of small businesses that are all learning about LinkedIn Live. And this kind of makes the point Don was making earlier, and we've been talking about that. I don't have all the time in the world to be a LinkedIn Live expert. So I'm going to have to watch some of your stuff, Russ, and continue to be mentored by Don. Don keeps trying to refer to me as a poster child, but I'm too old for that particular image. So I'll say I'm the poster old guy, and I'll be comfortable that that's an accurate description. But Don studies this. Russ, you're studying this, and you guys know this stuff. You've got, this is part of who you are, what you're doing, and you're sharing. Where my expertise, my thing I bring to the table is about, you know, where's the money at? Why would anybody give it to you? And I try to share that information. And that's where, as we build a community where I might have as many as 200 experts who are all on different topics, from talking about Harvey dealing with franchising, or last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess it was, Don introduced me to Pat Linden, who's a merger and acquisition specialist, and we're actually getting together for lunch tomorrow. So my community is growing, partly through the show, because of the show, and with the show. And so this is what this is all about, is that relationships are an investment. You have to give something in order to expect anything in return. And if you're going to go ahead and raise funding, you need to be investing in relationships continuously. It's a process, and it should be systematic. It should be planned. It should be intentional, and you have to be thoughtful about everybody you're talking to. If you can do that, then when you get to the point where you're saying yes, as you mentioned, Russ, you didn't have to go far to find sponsors because everybody already knew you and already loved you and liked what you were doing, and so they want to be part of that. That makes life so much easier than knocking on a door and going, hey, you don't know me, give me some money, and I might give the money back to you in the future. It's so different between what is the common way of raising funding and doing it by relationships.
Well,
You know, I had.
Go ahead, Russ.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
I was
please.
going to say I had a workshop this past month that I do off and on called Turn Cold Calling into Making Friends. And it's all about connection, community building. A lot of great information from the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, which if you have not read, obviously you have, Karl, but if people have not read this book, it is like the roadmap for relationships, and it's old, but it is timeless. And a lot of principles off there because it's really what I'm all about. And I love that because that whole concept is, you don't have to be knocking on doors cold and picking up the phone cold and getting on the computer cold. There's ways to really get to know people and work your way into communities before you ever ask them or position yourself to receive help from them. And a lot of that is you giving to them, number one. I want to also just, if you don't mind, Don, I will give a shameless plug for my workshop this month, which is transform your business in 3 simple steps. And how do you do that? Through connection and community building. Connect to yourself, connect to others, and connect to success. It is amazing. It is like the deal of the century, less than $50 for this class. And I'm telling you, it is something that you will find very, very enlightening and helpful, because there's so much information when it comes to how to really, really connect with people and build and grow. And how do you go about that? But you also have to be willing to do it. So if you are a person that wants to step out and really start doing more of that, connect with me and I'll give you more information on that. It's all over my social media. But I just want to say that, you know what, it takes a little effort every day. It takes a step forward every day to do connecting, to build community and relationships, but it never is done in vain. It always is to your advantage, because the more people and the right people that you get in your community, the better off you're going to be, right? As you grow with them. What does Jim Rohn say? That we are the average of the 5 people closest to us. I keep expanding this 5 people to better and better and better people, because that's what I do. Not only connecting, but being focused on who are you connecting to. Don?
Yeah, I think that you hit it right on the nose, because I found that once you get the ball rolling, it does start coming back to you in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I created the inbound to outbound marketing strategy. So I look at who watched my profile today or yesterday. I look at who commented. I look at who connected. I look at who, and I find 20, 30 people that are relevant.
Right.
And it's easy to then go back and say, thank you very much for taking the time to visit my profile. I see we have many interests in common, right? And at that point, love to get acquainted with you. If you're interested, here's my Zoom number, and that's it. And if they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. But at least they're getting recognized for doing something they do for a lot of people, and people take it for granted. There's also people who don't qualify people from other people. Not everybody's the same. The first thing I look at is activity with someone. If they're posting every 2 months, there's no way I can work with them, because they're not active enough. They're not interested enough. I think, to Russ's point too, people spend money on the weirdest, craziest, irresponsible things, right? And when someone says, I got a workshop for $50, everybody says, well, if it was free, I would have went, or something like that. So why doesn't everybody have an investment fund to invest in their own personal and professional development, to say, I'm going to get an Audible membership and get Think and Grow Rich, or How to Influence People every month. Right. I think it's worth $16 a month or whatever it is to have that information coming through you. I think it makes sense to invest in something, especially at the front end, because the other thing about sponsorships, they want to get there when the getting's good, when the growth potential is in front, and they're not really worried, will I get the $100 back today? Not only that, it's a branding benefit. Right? If you had a VC group that said, hey, we want to sponsor Karl just because we want to be in the background when all these influential people show up. What Russ said about promoting in front of larger audiences, they come with you. And that's where the explanation, because I know from talking to people, and I've talked to Russ, I've talked to Scott. Scott was actually on with Harvey, and as part of that tea party, and actually showed the pub in Ireland that he live streams as his background out there. It's those interesting elements that says, hey, you don't have to settle anymore. right? You don't have to go through gatekeepers. You don't have to have been offered an opportunity. You can create your own with other people who want to help you, because the medium is so strong. You just got to be good enough not to be bad for a while, and you'll get better in time, right? By just the practice, and everybody will give you some information. You lean into an audience, it's like a polishing wheel. You could try out any material and it'll validate it or make you want to double think it. And I think that's the beauty of knowing tomorrow I'm going to meet somebody I've yet to meet. I'm going to learn something I've yet to know. And maybe those are the pieces that get me to the next level long enough to take the next step. And how much do you need? And, I always believe if you're enjoying every step of the ride, you're not looking at your watch. When am I going to get there? Right? You're starting to experience the landscape and the opportunity and the energy. So many people need to actually slow down in some areas and then speed up in other areas, which is going from overthinking to actually going and leveraging and doing and coming back. And the other thing is Microsoft, LinkedIn are working 24/7 to keep coming up with more features, more benefits, more opportunities. And one day I predict they will actually fund creators. You can do all the stuff you want here and all you get is organic reach. But organic reach is really all you need to get up there on the mountaintop. So we've got about 3 minutes left. Russ, these times together, especially with Karl today, just fly by. No one had to look at notes or think, what am I going to say next? It's, can I remember what I was going to say next before this person just brought another idea up and now I got a thought there. And, we should almost have a mechanism. As soon as you get a great thought, you can hit a button, just share the thought and get off, and that way you never miss. New thoughts of a new format that we're doing and a direction I think is just going to be outstanding for so many people.
I love it. I love what you're doing here, Don, and I appreciate to be a small part of today and linking up with you and with Karl. I mean, I think what a blessing every day to be able to connect with new people that are on fire and doing amazing things. And I just want to encourage everybody, reach out to somebody new today. Reach out to somebody new and forge new relationships. And I do it every day. The last couple of years, I had the goal to connect with 1,000 new people over the year. Knocked it out of the park the last 2 years, doing it again this year. And I think everybody should do that. And I'm going to throw this in for you guys. If you want to see somebody new and very unique and collaborate and join in with them, check out my friend Craig McPherson. See this little microphone with my logo and everything on it? It's a actual name tag that he created for me out of wood. It's amazing the things that he's doing. Or my friend Brian, who's doing realistic replicas of fish that look so real. I know it sounds weird, but just people like that. I encourage you to reach out to new people, because who knows when you might need what they do, or when a friend will say to you, Karl comes to me and says, hey, I've really been looking for a new name tag and I'm tired of the old boring ones. But I got somebody for you. So, those kind of things, that's how we help each other. And Dawn, thank you for letting me be here today. Thank you so much. I appreciate everybody. Go to russhedge.com to connect with me, or russhedge.com/contact to schedule time on my calendar. Thanks.
Well, that's so generous of you, Russ. Thank you for taking the time and investing in it with us today. And, taking it to the next step, and I've talked to yourself and Scott, is go beyond just collaborating with individuals, collaborate with their systems and their processes and their network, and see how you can co-promote, co-produce what you're doing. You're as big as you choose to be, and the stage is limitless if you want yourself to play at a world-class level. Karl, this was kind of a surprise to you having Russ on today, but there's a trust factor that people have to say, I don't know this guy, but Don might know him and maybe he'll be good for us. And then you get to get your expectations more than fulfilled. So what's your thoughts, Karl?
Well, just a closing thought that we've talked about building relationships, and coming from the investment world, I look at everything as an investment, and time is one of the components of that investment. But I tell entrepreneurs, small businesses every day that you have to use your time wisely. Everything you do is a choice of how you're investing your time. And you have to know what your own time is worth. So when Russ says, "Hey, I have a program for $50," I'm like, wow, that would be a great investment of my time because I'll get back a return almost immediately from the knowledge that will come out of that workshop. That's part of investing in myself by putting my time and my money over here with Russ. Similarly, that's how I've been working with Don. I'm part of a cohort, and every time we get together to talk, as Don was describing, it's like a mad free for all of, hey, learn this, do this. Did you try this? Look at this. It's like learning from the fire hose, and we take immense notes and we record the meetings because there's just too much information flowing all the time. So yeah, invest in yourself, but use your time wisely. Invest in other people who can help you move better forward faster.
Great. And I think just to add to that, you never want to be the smartest person in the room, right? So get around great people who have been doing great. And there's a maturity level that everybody says, I've done that so many times, take another turn, right? Let's get you going. And I'm already there, so eventually humanity shows up.
Right.
You might have come in with, I need money, I need to something, and then you decide, I have what I need. Now I just got to go to work with it. And I think the work side is something, if you're going to look at long term, you got to pace yourself, you got to get support, you got to get all these things in place in order for you to have a fresh start and an opportunity to get beyond limited beliefs and dream again. So many people used to dream and then it got kicked out of them, or they just decide, I'm too old, I'm too this, I'm too that. And all of a sudden, wow, this new opportunity where you don't got to get on a plane 3 days a week. You don't got to drive to an office. You don't have to meet somebody at Starbucks. You can just decide to invite out of 1 billion people on LinkedIn and take it further with YouTube and Facebook. You're one. You got to remember that. And like Karl just said, drinking out of a fire hose is something, that's better to do if you really are thirsty. So with that said, come back tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a great show. We're going to have Kelly and a gentleman, Jason Wilson, who was on the show probably 8-9 months ago. He's doing some unbelievable things. I don't know if you know him, Russ.
Oh, yeah. I love Jason.
Yeah, he's down in Colombia, and
Yep.
he just started with Kelly on a faith weekend. I don't know all the details, but they did great with it, and they're going to be doing it every month. And the other thing is, last thing, is people get syndicated when they show up here. So in other words, when Russ shows up, it won't be long till Harvey or Omar or somebody says, hey, we should have Russ. And pretty soon you get engaged into so many families, you get invited in. And that's how you continue to build your circles, because one-on-one is great and picking up this, but if you can pick up a whole group,
that's right,
and find yourself comfortable. It's like having one of those credit cards where you can go on all these great lounges in the airport, right? If you have access, and I think that.
Well, great. We now own this show. So
it looks like, Karl, you and I are wrapping up the show today. That's just going to be amazing. So it's been amazing to meet you. And I'm thinking that Don's probably going to re-show up here anytime. But what a blessing today to talk to you and Don. And again, I agree. I never want to be the smartest person in the room. I always want to have people that I'm learning from and growing from. And I just really appreciate you and having the opportunity to be here today.
Well, I never worried about myself being the smartest person in the room, so that's a concern I'll set to the side. And yes, it was, Russ, very good to meet you today. And yes, let's exchange notes and see what we can do.
For sure.
Because I just feel that businesses have got caught up in trying to promote themselves in so many different ways, which are inefficient or don't work at all, or reflect badly. And this is a much better way of sharing who they are and what they want to do. So look forward to that. I don't know if the show is still live. It says we're in the show, so we're still talking.
Yeah, and
Um,
so I think we should just close the show out because he's already gone. And everybody tune in tomorrow, like he said. It's going to be an amazing show. Thanks for joining Karl and I and Dawn. And I've got to go anyway because I've got another great opportunity to speak to somebody here. So, Karl, let's definitely link up. We'll talk soon. And goodbye, everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm out of here. Bye-bye.
Bye.